everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are finally back. It has only been a 1 week break, but it felt like it was so long, and I'm sure like most of you, I needed this episode. Like usual, I'm going to break down the episode and give you some more insight on the game as well as this episode, and I'm going to get a little philosophical on you, and we cannot forget about the Accord hidden messages. There's a lot to go over in this episode, and with that, this is my warning. I do get into spoilers for the Nier games and the Drakengard series. So with that out of the way, let's talk about it. The episode starts off with 9S checking out the tower. You can see in his face that it looks like he almost has no drive. He tries to get into the tower just like in the game, but he learns that you need keys to get into the tower. But immediately we get something different. Operator 210 appears behind 9S. We get the same explanation that she changed to a battle type unit to fight in this battle, but she was unfortunately infected. All of a sudden she screams and more infected Yorha get back up. You hear 210 telling 9S to run, but 9S is stubborn and says that he won't leave her. He's going to try and save her, and he tells her we're going to get through this together. And obviously this is playing out differently from the game. In the game, 9S finds her and battles her at one of the resource units, and then A2 has to save him. Then we're back in the bunker and we see 210 in her room, and she's looking at a recording conversation between 9S and her, and you hear the usual. She only needs one confirmation from 9S, which is similar thing that you hear in the dialogue between Mikhail and Zero in Drakengard 3. She's always telling him to stop repeating things. Makes me wonder if Yoko Taro has someone in his life that always does that. But in this brief dialogue, you can see how much 210 really cared for 9S and wanted to protect him. It almost makes it seem like that is why she switched to a battle type unit. She wanted to protect those she cared about. Then she starts to put on her helmet, and this is similar to when 2B put on her helmet while she was in her room. Also, the conversation that we're hearing is the same dialogue that we heard back in episode 14. Then we see 9S fighting off the infected, and you see 210 on the ground saying she wanted a family, and she talks about how she wanted to protect 9S. In the game, you do see a side mission for her on finding old relics from when humans were on Earth, because 210 is fascinated by the concept of family. And we saw some of this back in episode 8 when he is talking to Operator 210. But right as 9S is knocked down and the infected are about to take him out, all of a sudden they stop. And we see Operator 210 has taken herself out with the sword. Pod confirms that the reason they stopped was because 210 was the hub for them. 9S realizes what that means and runs over to 210, and he wants to try to save her, but she stops him. She explains that she investigated the tower and sent the data over to Pod. That was her final job as an operator. She tells 9S to do his best, and he says okay. Her final words are one acknowledgement, good boy, and unfortunately she passes. What made this I think sadder to see is we see more from her point of view this time around. The game, it was just mainly his point of view, and I will admit I did tear up a little bit. In the game, this happens when you're exploring one of those resource units, and unfortunately you do have to fight her. She at some point in the battle talks about wanting a family and asks 9S to kill her. She talked about how lonely she was too in the game. Just in the game, when she goes into the attack 9S, it's A2 that saves him. And also one of the differences, this specifically happened at the resource unit that was at the amusement park. Now this next scene had me raise my eyebrows. All of a sudden we see machines looking for a bathroom. They're surrounding A2 chanting, bathroom, pee, or even poop, which was hilarious. A2's yelling at them to stop because they don't even use the bathroom, and they just keep on cheering for the bathroom at this point. Pascal eventually comes to talk to A2, and A2 needs help with these children. What was so cute was seeing one of the machines hold onto her leg. This is definitely pulling on the heartstrings here. Now, it is explained in the novel, long story short, that when she hears the machines call her Big Sis, it reminds her of the resistance from 4 years ago, and when they called each other a family. I think that now that she understands that concept, I think she can feel a little bit of empathy for these machines, even if she doesn't want to admit it. A2's yelling at Pascal, wondering where are the parts the resistance ordered, and Pascal explains that he is getting them ready, and asks that A2 look over the children for him. The machines then continue saying that they need a pee, so Pascal says, Big Sis, A2 will take them to the bathroom. A2 is pissed at Lily. Then we jump back to the resistance camp, and Lily and A2 are having a conversation. Lily is asking A2 to go back to Pascal's village to get materials they need, and A2 wonders why her. Lily then proceeds to be savage and guilt trips A2 into doing it. I will say I love seeing this side of Lily. She tells A2 that Lily doesn't have the manpower to go, so A2 needs to go, and then reminds A2 that they had to use the supplies they had on a certain someone, and because of that they don't have enough materials materials. Then she says, I'm counting on you, Miss Number 2. She's 100% utilizing their past relationship against A2. A2 tells her, you've become despicable, and Lily responds, you could say that I've become an adult, which she 100% has. She's not that scared little girl we once saw in episode 6. It is also good to see more of this relationship because we just never saw this in the game or the novels with A2 and an enemy. A2 got what she needed from an enemy and then left to do her own thing, is what we saw. Then we're back in Pascal's village and A2 just looks defeated. And that little machine is still holding onto her leg. It is so sweet. The little machine tells A2 it has to poop and Pascal tries to walk away, but A2 catches Pascal. Pascal informs A2 that the materials have been ready and she could take them at any time. And A2 asks Pascal, you did this on purpose. She asks if Pascal intentionally made her play with the children, and Pascal, being the savage that he is, says, I am a machine life form, so I don't understand complicated concepts too well. You goddamn liar, Pascal. Now, a quick little thing here. It is explained in the novel that A2 hates owing a debt, so she continued to help Pascal's village, but the problem was they kept rewarding her, which then felt like she had to keep owing them a debt, which is why she kept coming back to help them out. But then Pod informs them that hostile machines are heading right for the village. But now we're back to 9S and he's taking 210 somewhere to lay her to rest. And he has a flower and he goes to lay it on her, but instead crushes the flower. He wonders what is the point of this. Then Pod informs 9S that the data 210 collected has information on the subunits that they can go in order to get into the tower. 9S asks if he destroys them, does that destroy the machine life forms? Pod says that tower is currently coordinating the machine life forms. Then 9S begins to crush the flower with his boot. And it's like, come on, dude. A little bit of overkill. Then they decide to head to the closest subunit. And now we're at the hidden reports. Report 1 says a rebellion occurred within the association. The suppression is complete and the details are currently under investigation. Looks like there was a rebellion amongst the Accords. At least that's what I can assume. I mean, the association is the Accords after all, from what I understood. Then report 2 says, due to the destruction of numerous branch records, the formulation of restoration plan is urgently needed. Say what? Numerous branch records are destroyed? Say what? Okay, so in Dragon Guard 3, we know that branch C was sealed off because there was no hope for that branch. And they wanted to seal off branch D, but Accord interfered with that branch. It is obvious that this is a different branch as the anime has drifted from the game. I saw some theories that this could tie into the female administrator at the end of Reincarnation or Replicant, but I think it might be too early to jump to that theory because at this point, to be honest, I actually don't even know anymore. But because of the fact that I don't know, it gets me even more excited. What is everybody else's thoughts and theories on this one? We're back in the village and Pascal's asking why there are hostile machines heading that way. They're discussing if the information is accurate, and Pod explains that it is accurate and that the pods have a surveillance network set up everywhere, and the pods share information with each other, which we did see that in the game. He explains that there are 3,313 units in operation, and A2 definitely notices one of them behind them. The kids come back and A2 asks if Big Sister wants to play, and of course at this point Pascal's disappeared, and the children ask if A2 is hurting somewhere. She has a moment where it looks like she paused to think about things, and I've noticed that she does this quite a bit in this episode. But then Pod reminds them that hostiles are on the way to the village, and A2 pulls out her sword, and the children then become scared of the sword. A2 tries to tell them to calm down, that this isn't for attacking them, which also shows the growth in A2's part. But then they are interrupted by Pascal with his own weapons, and he explained that these weapons are used to protect them. Pascal has changed out his body and is now ready to protect the village, which is really surprising because he tries not to fight. We see A2 also looking at her weapon, and I think she's thinking about what Pascal is saying. The weapons are for protecting them, which is a change for A2. She's used her weapons for destruction for these past 4 years. The last time she used it to protect someone was during the Pearl Harbor descent mission. Pascal says, to protect everyone, I will kill off the enemies. And then the scene jumps back to the flooded city, and 9S makes it to the resource recovery unit, and it allows 9S in. We see the same angelic text line that we saw in the game. It says meat box. Pod explains the reason is unknown on why it says this. 9S says there is no meaning to anything they do, which is similar back in episode 3 when 9S says that they're just saying words. They don't really mean anything, even though clearly we're witnessing there is a meaning. I think this gets into Yoko Taro's reason on making the Yorha units wear those visors. He used it like a metaphor that the Yorha are blind to what is in front of them. And that shows more and more with 9S. Looking at A2, she doesn't have a visor on, so she sees the world in front of her. and she's starting to realize that the machines are not all terrible. Now in the game, when you get to the resource recovery unit, it actually says Soul Box. While they're in the elevator, Pod detects machine life forms, but she cannot tell if they're hostile. When entering the unit, it is the same layout as in the game. 9S runs into a bunch of machines that are in sleep mode. In the game for this specific unit, there's actually no machines in there. The only thing is there's a bunch of chests to hack. And 9S is going through all the reports that he receives from these chests, and this is where 9S learns that the black boxes are actually made from core units of machine life forms, as well as learning that the tower is actually a cannon aimed at the human server on the moon. 9S begins to lose his temper and begin attacking the sleeping machines. After he destroys one of them, you see the rest of them wake up and notice that their eyes are yellow. Then we come back to Pascal's village and we see a bunch of red-eyed machines heading to Pascal's village. We see that A2 and Pascal have started to arm the village. Pascal is concerned that the current weapons they have will not be enough. They will need more firepower, so Pascal asks A2 to look over the village while he goes and gets more. A2 tells the machines that until Pascal gets back, they will need to follow formation. A2 then says for Pascal to hurry. I wonder if this is basically replacing the portion in the game where A2 is running errands for Pascal, and then A2 gets a distress call from Pascal because the village is under attack. It looks like it'll just play out differently, and A2 is already there from the beginning, instead of us having to run a bunch of errands and then go. Then we're back at 9S, and you see him slaughtering all the machines. They're not hostile, and they're begging for their lives. The machines are talking about how much pain they're in, and 9S says they are not in pain, and we just see the machines begging for their lives. Pod is telling 9S that the machines are not hostile, and 9S is causing excess load on his mobility system. He's not the battle type unit, so that makes sense. Pod recommends that he stops attacking them, but he won't listen and just continues to slaughter them. Alright, Anakin.
They're like animals, and I slaughtered them like animals. I hate them.
He's just yelling at them to shut up, and they are continuing to beg for their lives. The novel explains this, that he is frustrated that the machines do not die quietly, so he just starts shouting at them to try to drown it out. He says he will kill them all, and they try to make a run for it. This is what happens in a different resource unit, and it's the one that's closest to the Forest Kingdom. It continues to attack the machines, but they're begging for him to stop. It was hard to play the game through this moment, and it wasn't easy to watch in this episode. This is similar to when you start playing through Route B in Replicant. Once you start to understand what the shades are saying, you begin to feel sympathy for the creatures you're destroying, which is also Yoko Taro's brilliant way of storytelling. So now I want to read something to you guys that he said in an interview when Drakengard 3 came out. He said one of his challenges when making the game was restrictions or invisible walls is the demand to create games in which we kill things. That's the object for the vast majority of the games out on the market. If we're not killing, we're gaining the advantage over someone. What do we do in sports games? You defeat your opponent and strive to become the champ. It was about 10 years ago when we started working on the original Drakengard game. Then I thought about the meaning of killing. I was looking at a lot of games back then, and I saw the messages like, you've defeated 100 enemies, or eradicated 100 enemy soldiers. And it's almost in a gloating manner. But when I thought about it in an extremely calm state of mind, it hit me that gloating about killing 100 people is strange. I mean, you're a serial killer. You killed 100 people. It just stuck me as insane. The vibe I was getting from society was, you don't have to be insane to kill someone. You just have to think you're right. So that's why I made Nier, a game revolving around this concept of being able to kill others if you think you're right. The whole time I've been thinking about these games in which we kill, and looking at the world, the gaming industry, and my own work after the third installment of the Drakengard series, I have to say that there has been no revolution or great change. I perceive that as a failure, at least for me. It's a personal failure, but I say but because I remain convinced of the tremendous potential in games. I think the hidden barriers are many and various visuals and functionalities, especially regarding limitations in having to kill in our games. Perhaps the solution is breaking through such limitations may not be found in a place like Japan, where it is relatively peaceful, but in countries that are more directly impacted by terrorism and war. What I would really like to see is for game developers to not take these limitations as a given, to bring about some real change to the world. With this thought, it makes sense on why we're seeing the things we're seeing. Yoko Taro clearly wanted to get a message across, and it isn't exactly an easy message to receive. Yoko Taro makes it hard to decide on which side to pick. It's not that simple of who's right and who's wrong in his work. In the novel, 9S is fighting the machines, and it is actually more brutal. He takes control of the machines and makes them fight each other, and he talks about how he wishes they felt emotions so that they could all suffer. Pretty damn brutal. Back in the episode, Pod confirms that he's wiped them all out, and the door opens and and it's a machine life form from the Forest Kingdom waiting for him. Now we see this machine along with others in the resource unit in the Forest Kingdom, but the machine explains he isn't there for revenge. He seeks a conversation with the androids, but instead of talking, 9S just immediately takes him out and says, die. Just like in the game, you hear the core speaking, help me, I'm scared. 9S says, you think begging will earn forgiveness for what you've done? And then just like in the game, 9S tells Pod to fire and destroy the core. Pod does try to stop 9S, but 9S isn't listening. Pod tells him they received the password, and as 9S is leaving, the machine wakes up and says, you cannot save anyone. You cannot protect anyone. Isn't that right? You cannot even kill me. You're a worthless coward. The machine then begins to laugh, and 9S finishes the machine off, yelling at him to shut up. It is interesting how he is blind to the world, but still has to hear everything, which is why he keeps yelling, shut up, shut up. That visor shields his eyes, but he has nothing to block his ears. Then the title shows up, and it is Corruption, which is ending P. Ending P is when you're playing as 2B in Route C, and you're trying to make it to the shopping center when you're infected. But if you do not make it, 2B becomes infected, and then wanders the earth forever. Then the puppet show starts, and say, what is Devil and Popola, but specifically from Nier or Nier Replicant. They're at the fountain in Nier's village, where you usually see Devila singing. 9S walks by them saying he'll kill all the machine life forms, and A2. 9S finally notices the twins and points out that they look different. And the twins try to explain that they're wearing the outfits that androids of their type used to wear. The twins say it's good to change the outfits every so often, and asks if 9S is going to return to camp. He just says he'll kill them all, and then shouts he will move forward. The twins then tell 9S that they want him to hear this from them, and they say they're going to sing Song of the Ancients, which I'm already excited for. But then I got pissed because he walked away. And then of course they stopped singing. If I could reach to the screen and punch him and drag him back, I would've. But then the twins say they should start the thing. And I guess now they have a shop. They're back in their Automata outfits, and they say they're starting the 666 Automata shopping episode, which as most of the world knows, 666 is a reference to like the Antichrist or even the devil. So I'm not sure if this is necessarily a Drakengard reference, or is it just a religious reference? But then they begin to show off the sword, Beast Lord, which is well known in Drakengard in the Nier universe. It is one of the first weapons you can get in Nier Automata. The Easter egg though is Defila says that it's the Accord brand item, which even the weapons trader knows Accord as his supplier for some of these weapons. It's I believe also the first time they've actually mentioned her in the anime outside of the Easter egg hidden reports. But apparently if you buy that weapon you get the Phoenix dagger for free at no charge. I wish they would offer that in the game. Then all of a sudden the machines appear out of nowhere and they start to attack the twins. Then the text says, the struggling Devila and Popola received no backup. Of course, Devila and Popola died. And you hear Devila say, I knew it would end up like this. And Popola asks, do we even need an ending like this? Those poor girls. I feel like this is a reference to ending S when 9S abandons them when they try to help him get into the tower. At least that's the closest ending I could think of. But we're at the end of the episode. I thought this was a very good episode, was showing the character growth between 9S and A2. We see A2's growth in opening up more to Pascal and his village, and is trying to understand them, and I feel like she does want to protect them. She may play the tough act, but she really does care. Then we see 9S and his character growth as well. Whether it is to become a villain of some sort, it is still technically a growth. I thought this episode did a great job of showing the contrast between the two characters. A2 is growing back into the character that protects things that she cares about. There are people back in her life. She has Pascal in the village. She's back with Lily, and she even has Pod. But for 9S, he continues to lose everything. It is like that machine said to him, he hasn't been able to save or protect anyone. 2B and Operator 210 are gone, and he's still trying to tune everything out. But also, this is part of the game. I have to give credit to this channel I discovered called Wisecrack for pointing this out. They do great philosophy videos, and they definitely did a philosophy video on this game. I'll link that video in my description. But the game repeatedly builds meaning around certain characters or plots, and sometimes the characters even die by your own hands sometimes too. Each time this happens, the player has to reevaluate where their new meaning or mission and where the mission is going to come from. It also is interesting seeing how they combine moments from each of the resource units of this game. I think it makes things go faster in my opinion, and it worked really well. But I pass the question on to you now. What are your thoughts? Also, my channel now allows super chat and super thanks as well, and then I just created a membership to my channel as well. well. This membership will give you access to the Discord channel that I just created, as well as some emojis that I just created and badges that I created based off of Nier. Right now, the only emojis I have are based off of A2's expressions from these last few episodes, but I thought it'd be fun to make. Those really help me out with keeping this channel going, and I appreciate everybody's continued support. I will now go cry watching episode 16 in English dub now. In the meantime though, yet again, thank you for your support, and I'll see you guys next time.